Bunch of nerds.
Ow! Someone just shot me with a bow and arrow. But wait, that's not Hawkeye. That's Kevin Feige. Damn, he's good. What's going on, everybody? It has been far too long, but we're back together just like a band. V39 and the Nerd Room. We're here, virtually, that is. And as you can tell by the sound of my voice, a little bit of confusion here. I am not Tim, but he's here too. And Carlos, and of course, my two co-hosts from the Vigilante 1939, Nico and Nick Caruso Jr. Gentlemen, how you guys doing?
Cheers, gents.
Happy to be here, boys. Been too long. Too long.
What's up, guys?
Okay.
Fun evening.
Look at that. Look at that. I wonder if we're going to talk about him today. I don't know.
That's great. Is that he takes a nice chug to start us off?
Oh, gentlemen, been far too long here. Far too long. So, Caruso's, what's up? How are you guys doing tonight?
We're doing good, man. Happy post Thanksgiving here in the States. All we did was eat a lot yesterday, right, son?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I turned 26 on Tuesday.
You did?
So
Oh, yeah?
Oh,
Yeah.
happy birthday.
We're another year older. We're going to
Boy,
celebrate
young
lunch
gun.
tonight.
1 year older, 1 year wiser.
Wait
Look
till
at
the
that.
after show. Yeah. But no, we're happy to be here.
Yep.
And the people that are the hosts of this channel, Tim and Carlos. How are you guys doing? What's up, guys?
We're doing good. I'm happy to be here with my my ancestors or my countrymen, the fellow Italians, because I did an ancestry test. 10%.
Serious?
10% Paisan.
10%?
I had no idea.
I knew it.
Let's go.
I think I got to replace Pete Vera on Italian coalition for
Dude.
Spider-Man.
You could be part of the coalition
Gotta
right
have
now.
You know what? Instead of Carlos, just call you Christopher. Call you Christopher. The enforcer. The enforcer.
That's
Wow,
right,
that's-
man. That's right.
That's pretty cool news. Pretty cool news. It's that's an exclusive too. A channel.
Yeah,
exclusive.
it just dropped tonight.
Yeah, I didn't get the email all that long ago, and literally, you two were the first people I thought of. So
That's
it
amazing.
just goes
That's
to
amazing.
show the indelible mark.
There you go. You are family, but now there's blood. Now
Yeah,
there's
now
blood.
there's technical blood family.
That's right. Now we're familiar.
Related to be family.
Best thing.
Tim,
in the
we can
world.
still work you in somehow. Don't worry about it. We'll figure it out, man.
Well, I'm sure
Yeah,
there's got to
we'll
be
figure
something.
it
Maybe I'll do the swab and I'll send it off to
There you go. There you go.
figure out where I'm from. Somewhere in Europe, I would guess. So there's a chance. There's a chance.
Everyone in Europe is related somehow. Is what
That's
I've
right.
learned.
There you go.
It is good to be here though. I feel like this like weights lifted off of my shoulders. Got the boys here. I've got my family. I got to give my shout out to my oldest daughter here. She's watching. It's almost bedtime, but she always likes to tune in for a little bit.
That's
and
awesome.
hear some thoughts here. So I'm just pleased. You know, I got my Hawkeye cup. I got a little bit of the bubbly here, and I'm ready to go. I'm ready to talk some MCU.
I know Tim's excited. We're all
What kind
excited.
of bubbly? Like
Ooh.
bubbly? Like
That's a
Michael
white-
Bubbly?
It's a White Claw, you know.
Okay.
Bubbly.
We're in.
What particular what is it? What vintage White Claw?
But it's a raspberry vintage.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's good.
okay,
Sure.
okay,
That's fantastic. Sure.
from the first line.
Yeah,
It's
you
yeah,
classic.
for the first time. Yeah, 2021 vintage.
There you go. One of the originals.
Wow.
So, Zeddy, what are we talking about today?
All right, let's see. You do the word vintage. Let's see who's vintage. I would say, okay, well, a vintage character in the MCU, some might say, would be Hawkeye. One of the fellow OGs here. He's got a Disney Plus series in case nobody's heard of it or anything, but you know, it is the fourth and final MCU Disney Plus show. Wow, we got 4 of them this year. Woof.
Wow.
Man, wow, that's unbelievable. But nonetheless, it's funny. It's just funny. You know, we talked about Loki being like, I don't even know if we needed Loki, but we all wanted Loki in the end, right? So here we are yet again. This Hawkeye show debuts episodes 1 and 2. A very different MCU show, I would say, both tone-wise, aesthetically-wise. So I'm going to kick this one over to the Carusos, of course. Just give me kind of your quick runaway thoughts on episodes 1 and 2, your initial reactions. Mr. C, what'd you think?
Yeah, it's another thing too, where like he's probably one of the characters that I wasn't really anticipating or looking forward to watching a show, even though I did like him, but I kind of thought maybe we got enough of him. And so far through the first 2 episodes, I've been kind of pleasantly surprised. I mean, it's not like terrific to me, but it's certainly engaging enough. Hailee's great. He continues to be good. The supporting cast is good. I think it's another show where there's a lot going on, but you're really introducing this key character in Hailee Steinfeld and Kate Bishop, who I think is going to be so important going forward. So I'm really paying attention. She's not a character that I read a lot about in the comics. And it's got heart to it, and the humor to me has been very pleasantly pleasing. It hasn't been like forced. So today we watched the second one, and when it ended, I was like, "Oh wow, okay, it's over," which is the biggest compliment I could give a show because I actually was looking to see it continue. So I'm in.
Yeah, same thing for me. This is and what's funny is I said this for Loki, but this was of all the shows that were announced back at it's crazy. It was like Comic-Con 2019 when they announced the slate of these 4, plus with I know they threw like She-Hulk and Moon Knight and Ms. Marvel were in there too, but these were like the big 4 they announced. And Hawkeye, I promise you guys, was the one I was the least in for. I was like, okay, I thought they wrapped him up in Endgame. I thought this was going to be his ending. I know Kate Bishop was in the comics and stuff. I knew that's something they were going to want to eventually explore. The Young Avengers, we'll talk about that later. But I'm like, I don't know if I want to see Renner mentoring someone, if that's just something I need. And even both trailers were really cool. I liked them both. But I was still like, okay, is this something that's gonna be the first dud for me in Phase 4? Because I've always said I've pretty much enjoyed almost everything that Phase 4 has given me. So is this going to be the first one? And no, through 2 episodes, the word I'm going to use is charming. It's really charming. You're smiling a lot, and even though there's some heavy moments, and I think that's all because of Hailee Steinfeld as Kate Bishop. What a 2 episodes to introduce you to a character and really make you fall in love with her. I think she's great. And I'm rooting for her already. And I'm rooting for this partnership between the 2 of them. I think Renner is solid. And the Christmas feel is giving it something a little different for me. And I know Falcon and Winter Soldier was supposed to be the grounded show. But just because they kept changing countries and there was Zemo and everything, and because he was becoming Captain America, it felt bigger. Yeah. This one really does feel like the grounded one, boots on the ground with the Tracksuit Mafia, New York City. Where's Peter at? We got to talk about that.
Bro.
Yo, wait till that's coming. Hold on. Carlos, don't worry, that's coming. But I've had a very good time with it. Do I think it's necessarily great, a masterpiece? Not necessarily, and it's still early to tell because there's still 4 weeks to go, but another really strong start for an MCU show.
Yeah, I'm just real quick. I'm going to echo everything you said. I mean, definitely charming for sure. What's that?
Echo.
Oh, wow. Look at it. Sometimes you just, I'm going to echo what you guys said there. And I mean, pleasantly surprised. Absolutely. I mean, I was actually more down on this one than I was Loki, because at least Loki was still an intriguing character, I would say. Not that I didn't like Hawkeye, but I mean, I'm kind of in the boat of like, they're doing what essentially they did with Black Widow and, essentially just make him a compelling character. I mean, if there were ever 2 characters that probably got the worst end of the stick, or the short end of the stick, I should say, it was Black Widow and Hawkeye, I would say. So, to give them this Disney Plus show, it definitely does feel like maybe this is just a tool to kind of establish a new Hawkeye in the form of Kate Bishop, which is totally fine. I mean, Hailee Steinfeld is the force in this series. I can definitely see her being the next fan favorite, but I really dig the just the difference in tone here. I mean, the street level grounded just tone of it is something that I certainly miss. I mean, Daredevil, Luke Cage, throw all that stuff in there. Certainly the vibe that I got. So I'm actually going to kiss one back over to Tim and then shift over to Carlos. So I literally just threw it up. I mean, just feels probably more like a Netflix show than maybe more of that cinematic MCU that we've kind of gotten accustomed to on Disney Plus. So just walk me through about the tone of this show compared to what we've gotten as of late. Do you dig the difference, Tim?
Yeah, definitely. It's compared to a Netflix show is probably the best. It's not nearly as dark as say your Daredevil or hard hitting in that, but it does bring a nice element to it. I found similar to you guys, myself just watching this and loving it. It was a return to a familiar MCU as well. We've had Eternals and Shang-Chi and even Loki. They were all dealing with different stuff, right? And Loki, we had a familiar character, but an abstract sort of narrative and concepts that they're dealing with the multiverse. And so going back into this familiar territory felt good to me. Not that I didn't like that other stuff, but this one, I was comfortable. I got into it. The Christmas song, the Christmas theme. I'm a sucker for that stuff. It's the right time of year for it, of course. And this one also, you talked about this transition of to Kate Bishop from Hawkeye, this new Hawkeye. We've seen a lot of baton passing this year as well in the Black Widow movie and this Hawkeye show, it looks like. But this is the first show that we're watching that I think is primarily going to be focused on a new MCU character in Kate Bishop. And this is before we jump into these other Disney Plus shows, which are going to be introducing and have the primary focus, even the title, around brand new characters that we have not seen being pulled off of the big screen. And so this is kind of a nice bridge. So you're seeing a lot of baton passing going from the familiar, wrapping up themes, wrapping up characters in a way out of phase 4 and into the latter part of phase 4 and phase 5. And I think this tone really, really helps with what Hawkeye's doing here. The MacGuffin's pretty straightforward, pretty simple. It's going to answer some of our questions about Ronin and the in-between time when we had the absence of Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye from Infinity War and the 5 years in between to when we catch up with him. So there's a lot of cool stuff they're doing, and they're building into comfortable aspects and comfortable concepts of the MCU. And I'm digging it. I'm digging the tone. I'm digging Hailee Steinfeld. I'm digging Renner. Everyone I think is firing here. I'm really enjoying this in the first 2 episodes.
Awesome. So Carlos, I actually want to open this one up a little bit here. So Tim actually set it up. So obviously the plot, we all kind of just said, a little bit, smaller in scale here, bringing it back to New York City, back to roots here a little bit. So, the thing with all these shows, right? There's got to be some big mystery, right? There's got to be something that we're all missing when we're watching these shows, right? But is there? That's the question I'm going to throw around here. So, mystery, maybe predictable, maybe not, but just walk me through, are you invested into the story here? What do you think?
Yeah, as far as my investment goes, it all ties to my youngest daughter, who's like a ravenous Kate Bishop fan. Like, she discovered her rather inadvertently just collecting comics or like these little square bound books because of how they looked, and she ended up buying them all and then wanting to read the Hawkeye stuff, so she reads those on my Comixology. So that's my point of entry, so that's where my hook to the show is. As far as the MacGuffin, yeah, I'm curious to see what happens with this watch and whatnot, and to see the baton pass and whatnot. I'll save some of my higher level thoughts for backing up my brother Troy when we record this Tuesday on it.
Get out of here.
So little plug for some Tuesday fireworks, but it might be like that Arkham Knight game where Batman and Nightwing, you hit triangle and circle at the same time for those combo attacks. But yeah, it'll be okay. Like, I'm curious to see where they take it and why the Tracksuit Mafia, those EuroBros left Nick's club and have now hunted down.
It was already worked into the pre-plan.
I think we should all get those outfits, by the way. We got to
get tracksuits.
We got to get some tracksuits.
V the nerd across the chest here.
Oh,
dude,
baby.
whatever.
I don't know, you might have to put some fur on those tracksuits.
Whatever color you guys want to go with, I'm fine, man.
Bro, it's got to be the Kappa ones, right? Now that I got that Italian blood,
Yeah,
it's got to be Kappa.
So do we have to go hunting for those tracksuits?
Oh, we might.
I'm sure the Crusoes have a connect for those.
I was going to say, because he's
100%.
Craven, so I don't know if we have to go hunting for him. I don't know.
Carlos, shout out to your daughter. That's so awesome to hear her discovering Kate Bishop, and like, for someone like me who's never read it, right? It's just an amazing, comics are just incredibly, just the greatest thing that we could have ever discovered. And that's so cool that on her own, she kind of discovers that, right? That character. And then you kind of from that, right, you get your interest in it. So it's just wonderful. Great. That's all.
Very cool.
Yeah, and it's
Love it.
crazy like how organic it was. Like I had bought her,
Yeah.
I had read all the Miss Marvel stuff, so to try and get her to read, I was like, this is a good like
Sure.
gateway. And then she found the Hawkeye one, and simply because it was bound the same way.
That's
And so
awesome.
it's like, well, I got to get this one because this is the next in the series. And then like that thing led to purple Converse for the back to school shoes, and anything and everything that connects to Kate Bishop. So
I love it.
yeah, that's all my buy-in for Hawkeye comes from her.
Wow.
I wasn't very happy having to wake up an extra hour early so that she could watch it before school, but
Priorities.
Commitment. That's commitment. That's fatherly love.
yeah, exactly.
Wonderful. All right. I think I want to kick this one back over to the Carusos, because obviously the big thing with this one, take your sip there. Good sip. There you go. Sip slow. All right. So obviously the thing is, Wanda kind of dealt with grief, pain, and loss, right? Sam Wilson was kind of dealing with that confidence of whether or not he could withstand being Captain America. Loki was conflicted on whether or not he can change and be a good person. Hawkeye's a little bit different here. I got a little James Bond, No Time to Die from me. A lot of PTSD, it would appear, going on with Hawkeye here. So, Caruso, just walk me through here. Obviously we really only talked about, this is a guy that really felt like he was done, very Batman-y, I'm done with the superhero stuff. And then he kind of gets roped into it, right? He gets triggered by a memory, and then he just coincidentally gets roped back into the thing. So, just walk me through about what you thought of, where the character is now.
It's interesting you bring that up, because when the trailers happened to, while they were entertaining, one thing I was interested on is, was there going to be any repercussion to the Ronin stuff? And as much as I love the MCU, I am known as sometimes the MCU continuity Nazi. And I do think they actually use, not to get into Eternals, I do think the MCU uses exposition a lot. So to see Eternals get ripped for it was kind of weird, but I digress. My two most, Avengers Endgame it's such a monumental achievement. It's such a good time, right? It's a movie of the best moments in the genre, some of the best moments in film in my lifetime. But my two big things were, the Hulk stuff happening off screen and the massive jump and just, okay, let's just do this with Hawkeye, where they set the tone nicely. Actually, the tone for Endgame is perfectly set with his family disappearing on the farm. That's fine. Mm-hmm. But then this whole jump to 5 years later, he's this violent vigilante in the crime underworld. And then he kind of just comes out of it and does the things in Endgame. He has the crazy hair, the tattoos and everything. And he's kind of edgy in that movie. And then it ends and he's back to normal. And the show starts. He's like a family man again. So right away, I'm like, all right, is this an example in the MCU where a character does something and there's no repercussion for it, which sometimes happens? So I like him being triggered by it. I like that the Ronin suit had repercussions with the Tracksuit Mafia, that these villains exist. I like that the black market is trying to get the suit and the sword back. I like how he was the one, him and Natasha were the ones with no power. So I do like seeing he has like a hearing aid. He has some head trauma. He has other things. So I'm actually very pleased with where they put him. And I like that his wife is still in the show and his kids are still in the show, because I thought that was something really nicely set up by Ultron that we didn't really get to see again until they got snapped away. So I'm actually very surprised at how well they made sure to keep that history there. Mm-hmm. And it looks like they're going to build more on, why these people are after Ronin. And the fact that he won't admit, the one thing I really like is there's a scene where, of course, no one really knows Hawkeye was Ronin. And he almost doesn't want to admit that to Kate either. He's like, the person who wore this was blah, 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 to show he's not proud of it and he knows it was wrong. So I really am interested to see how that's going to play out. That's the thing, besides how blown away by Hailee I was, that's the thing I was the most impressed about, because I didn't think they were going to do any of that.
Yeah, I mean, I can only echo what you say, not
to make a pun. Echo. What?
I like
trigger word of the show.
Take a drink. Take a drink.
Take a drink.
I like the fact that he, in the beginning, the opening scene when they're at which looks like a wonderful Broadway play, by the way. what's it called? Steve Rogers.
Rogers.
Rogers, the music.
My wife immediately said, "Where is that? I want to see it."
But it's good because you could tell that he's trying to distance himself from that, and he's definitely trying to move on, and he does have the battle wounds. I love the whole thing with the hearing aid
Mhm.
and how they showed it in the second episode, and she asked him why you wear that, and he does have that PTSD. So it is great development for him, and I'm curious to see if they do get a little bit deeper, I think, as we go forward.
Yeah.
Into him making that dark journey that he had. And then obviously the family's the light that brought him back from that horrible event, obviously, of losing your family like that. So but the focus for me clearly is Hailee, is Kate.
Mhm.
And we'll get into that, but I'm very comfortable with where Hawkeye is right now. So I'm good with it.
Yeah. I like that you have a primary story in Kate Bishop. Like
Mhm.
that is the focal point, but you're also getting this Hawkeye, this Jeremy Renner, almost feels like the wrap up of his character, right? There's like one piece of his story that doesn't have a conclusion, and the catalyst being the snap and this whole big time jump. I think we're going to see the MCU explore a lot in that space in some of these. We might even get that in She-Hulk with Hulk proper, like with Smart Hulk, or as Carlos like to call him, Dad Hulk, and that they can play
Yeah,
a
he's
little.
no Smart Hulk, man. He doesn't get those Dale Keown props yet. Dad Hulk.
Yeah,
Firmly.
he can. They can play it. They can play with that, and I really like that aspect that Jeremy Renner is not the focal point. Right, this isn't like a Black Widow movie, which she deserved and she needed. That was all focused on her, and the other Black Widows were the supporting cast, and that transition was to a supporting character that's now moving into a lead role. This is more less focused on Kate Bishop, but also let's answer some things about Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye, because he's one that's been developed in Avengers films, in Civil War, right? He's gotten bits and pieces of development, and even that moment in Endgame. Do you remember this when his family got snapped away? It was literally silence and people gasping when he turns around and his kids are gone. And so I love that they're following up on that and giving him that due, but it's not overshadowing the introduction of Kate Bishop and her story.
100%. Real quick, Zeddy, I just wanted to shout out everyone in the comments who has been here. So here we got Mr. Chris Evans, our guy Javi. We got, I think this is true. I think that's Javi again. Oh, really? Oh, welcome. I love that. Oh, because Tim. Yes, that's right. We got a good old Cookie Monster. We got Ian said, "Hi, my favorite pizza. I'm watching, but I can't hear because I'm currently teaching class at 30. So please enunciate so I could lip read." Okay, so everyone really overemphasize what you're saying. And then I believe Ian is here as well too. So just thank you for everyone who's joined, and we'll join later. We'll be trying to shout out you guys. I agree with our guy here, Chris Evans, that I would totally watch the Rogers musical as well, because we watched a great musical earlier in the week called Tick Tick Boom, starring second best Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield.
And you know what? There's breaking news. I think he's been cast as Steve Rogers in Rogers the musical. Andrew Garfield. You heard it here first. He will play the lead.
There you go. Now that's multiverse bending.
Wow.
And he's not in Spider-Man No Way Home.
Oh, Lord. Let's not. We never said that here. That here. Oh man. So before I move on here, so Nico, I gotta ask you real quick here. So Tracksuit Mafia, the Greater Sign Flag Smashers, how you feeling over here, man? 2 episodes in. What do you think, man? What is it?
Turn it to the guy.
How you feeling, bro?
How you feeling, man?
Well, here's what I'll say. We're only 2 episodes in. We're only 2 episodes in, and I know I've been myself personally. I've been very critical of the Flag Smashers.
Slap an American flag on that tracksuit.
So far, they're showing me they're just bad and stupid. So at least there's one dimension. I cannot quite say yet, but they're on. As long as they stay consistent and stay this course, I will think they're better than the Flag Smashers. And I like the one guy better than Carly so far. Who just
will we see a teenage rise up the ranks and leave the group?
No, I hope no. I don't think so, because all these guys look very old and
they're
scary. with a lot of chest hairy.
Well, this is the perfect time to bring Quicksilver back, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
You didn't see that coming because he fits right in, right? Like
it's right in.
that's
He's
the
too busy
like,
hunting, Carlos. He's too busy hunting now.
Kevin Feige's thinking like 8 steps ahead. It's like, you know what, plant those seeds with the Kappa tracksuit in Age of Ultron, and then we'll pay it off in the Hawkeye show when he shows up as the Machiavellian leader of the tracksuit mafia.
I love it, man.
Instead of Ralph Boner, he's like Silver Fox.
Yeah, exactly.
I was gonna say, I think our EuroBros at Ralph Lauren right now. I don't know.
Like, how do you think they all got into the country, right? Because he's super speeding them
Yep.
out of Eastern Europe
One at a
into
time.
New York, one across
Straight into the
one across
club.
the water.
There you go.
Yeah.
Save one.
Just save one.
Wow. Look at that.
I do
There
love
it
that
is.
part. I do
There it
love
is. First one of the stream.
in the
How
thing.
many will we end up with by the end? I don't know.
Hopefully just one. Hopefully just one.
I don't know. But don't worry, you all are the best of the best. I don't know. Just I
Yes,
don't know.
yes, too. He just did the shoehorn in the second one. Respect.
It's time to fly now, everybody. It's time to fly now.
Look,
All right,
the
let's,
tracksuit mafia. I gotta get my 2 cents in here.
Please.
Oh yeah, absolutely. What you got?
They're not a threat, right? Like, no one thinks that these guys are an actual threat. I've never read the Fraction stuff. I know that they're part of that. I think they're great, goofy villains for Kate Bishop to kind of find her footing, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can't put her up against like actual villains here. Right? She has no training. Like, they make reference, she's got a black belt and she's tough and she can shoot a bow and arrow and all that stuff. But you got to put them up against, or her up against, these goofy guys at the start that you don't really take seriously. I think you can buy into some of that a bit better.
Yep.
Narratively speaking, that you have kind of these goofy guys that don't really know what's going on. And then you're going to tease other things going down the road. And you might get your henchmen and you're kind of cannon fodder for her. And then you'll progress up the chain and you'll get something bigger and badder as this thing goes. Because that's one thing I do like to do with Kate Bishop here. And I think the Tracksuit Mafia fits that. Is it's not like she's this amazing fighter or has all this experience, maybe it's a little unbelievable. She's dodging bullets and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, they need cannon fodder for her and people that you're like, oh yeah, she could probably beat these guys up, right?
Yeah.
That's perfect because if you put her up against the Shang-Chi people, right, she probably has no chance, right?
No.
So
Or like
you're
anyone with any skill, right? And
you're
like especially in the underworld.
correct. It's very believable that she could go toe to toe and handle these guys and not completely look at it and be like, this is completely ridiculous, right? So it's perfect. He's absolutely correct with that. Man. You're right. Absolutely.
You got to have these goofy guys rolling around with the accents and all this stuff. Because
Exactly.
otherwise, like you said, you put them against any other underworld villain, and it becomes unbelievable. There might be aspects that are already somewhat unbelievable, and I'm willing to suspend my belief on some of that. The bullets flying around and she's dodging, doesn't get hit ever. But I'm cool with that, right? She has a little bit of skill, but even in the choreography when she's fighting them, right? It's clunky. It's not great. But
Right.
I believe that's on purpose. Like, she's not supposed to be this fluid person. When Renner shows up and takes these guys out in about 2 seconds, that that's also another leap of believable, right? And so I just view these guys, I'm not a gamer, but these must be like the mid-level guys that you're just kind of like walking through and all that, right?
Right, yeah.
Cutscene.
And the best is when she comes crashing through the roof in the second
I love
episode.
That's so
And
funny
it's
to me.
just it's so cool because it's great to see that the beginning stages, like you said, Tim, where she really doesn't know what she's doing.
No,
And
she's
she
heavy on
walks
her
through the wolf.
feet.
She comes crashing down and she's like, oh, and it's like completely, from the frying pan into the fire. It's good.
There's no finesse there. There's nothing,
none
right? It's like
whatsoever. Nope.
you send someone out into the world and put this mask on with no periphery vision and start to try to punch people. And it's just not going to work.
Right. Not gonna work.
It reminds me of South Park. I'm not sure if you guys watch South Park, but there's a South Park episode that's like kind of based on, I think, the show 24 or something. And like Cartman just keeps jumping through the windows. And then finally on like third one, he's like, god damn it. Like, just because it hurts. It's going to hurt when you're jumping through the window and stuff.
That's a family show. I don't
Family
think
show.
They don't watch.
Yeah.
Wait till it goes up on our feed. That
My mom wouldn't let me watch South Park when I was
that
young.
changes
So.
real fast on the V39 feed. Trust me. And it's all my fault. Zeddy, save us here.
Oh, we're a family show of over 14. Let me tell you, you got to put that MA on the shows. That's for sure. We're more of a family MA show. It's all right.
Not all the time.
There you go. Well, All right. Well, you know what, guys? Hey, if anybody's good at playing socially awkward teen, I mean, let's be real. It's Hailee Steinfeld. I mean, you know, I mean, just listen, just bring that Bumblebee character right over here. That's essentially what she is. You know, it's just like,
Great movie.
yeah, great, very great movie.
Written by Christina Hodson.
That's right. Very Christina Hodson. Very right. Very right. That's true, right? Yeah. All right. So one of the things that you guys had mentioned is, you know, not many people can seemingly go toe to toe with her, right? But I think there's a few people that are going to go toe to toe with her because obviously we got a little Russian spy here coming very soon. I think wink, you know. But Nico already flew it through the radar underneath our screen here because I got to echo something real quick here. So obviously the big surprise that I guess we're gonna have to little talk about here because obviously the reveal was Echo. You know, that red and black lighting. I mean, holy moly, wow! It's awesome. It's awesome. So I don't know, Daredevil, a little intentional here. I don't know. But Tim, I just want back over to you. So obviously Echo in the MCU, we kind of knew this going in that Echo was gonna get her own show. It's rumored that it's probably a setup to get the Daredevil characters back in, but I don't know. It was kind of left ambiguous. You know, is she the leader? Is she kind of somebody in the inside that's going to help them? Where do you see this playing out? And are you excited for Echo?
Yeah, I don't really know Echo at all. I don't have much experience in reading any of this Hawkeye stuff or even Daredevil for that matter. And maybe we'll save on the spoilers as far as Echo's connection to the things. But I'm excited about it. You know, she's got her own show, so there's some confidence there in the character and how she's going to be portrayed and maybe how she has been portrayed throughout the shooting of this as well. The funny thing is that this, more so than any of the other Disney Plus shows, is written and delivered like it is a binge style of series because both first episodes have these moments or these cliffhanger endings in a similar fashion that you would have with a true Netflix series that is bingeable and you get all 10 episodes or 8 episodes, 6 episodes, whatever at once. Both of these, like even if episode 1 was by itself, right, you're left on this cliffhanger. This one, you're left on this cliffhanger. And so it's interesting that we're going to have to wait a whole week for this. We don't kind of get a little bit more explanation on it because there's not a lot of people, I'd say, outside of a relatively niche comic book audience that are going to understand this particular reveal. There's probably a lot of people scratching their heads saying, am I supposed to know who this character is? Was she in Avengers film? Was she in Civil War? You know, who is this character? And I'm kind of a bit like that too. Like I knew the actress and I knew where they were going, but I'm just excited to see that we're going to expand this and that she's going to have some particular focal importance in Disney Plus. And so I honestly, this is probably the show other side of Loki because none of us really knew where that was going, but we knew Loki. I don't know where any of this is going, and that excites me about it. Like, I don't know how they're going to portray this, if they're going to bring in characters that she's connected to that I'm aware of, which I'm down for. But nonetheless, I'm just digging the uncertainty and the, I wouldn't say on purpose mystery. I guess it a little is because it's a tease, but it's just my lack of knowledge that potentially is giving this character a little bump for me.
Mm-hmm. Carlos, do you echo Tim's sentiments? What do you think?
Yeah, like I'm excited. I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum when it goes to characters like Daredevil and familiarity with her and whatnot. Like, I think all of her appearances are sitting in my furnace room about 10 feet away from me. So yeah, I'm excited at the prospect of what she could be having in tow. And kind of like I said on our show last week, this is definitely, like, there's no way that she's not the backdoor pilot for bringing those characters in, and they're just gonna flip the whole thing on its ear, where instead of you meeting the hero and these villains getting exposed to you that way, you're gonna meet this villainous character and then her backstory and connections, and her antagonists, for lack of a better term, are going to be the characters that you meet to kind of fill in the rest of that piece of the Marvel universe. So yeah, like Matt Murdock's my guy, and yeah, ride or die with DD there. So I'm excited about what that brings, and it was cool actually that, like, going back to my kid, like that was kind of a neat moment because she wasn't familiar with that character, but yet like we're watching it and there's names getting dropped and she's like, oh no, this happens to so and so, and she was excited about the dog having his eye that was wrecked and stuff like that. So when we got to that reveal, I was like, ha ha ha! Now the shoe's on the other foot because I know something that you don't know. So yeah, I'm curious to see where it goes. I was a little surprised to see her connected to the Tracksuit guys.
Yeah.
That's not really her vibe at all. But yeah, we'll see what they do with it.
What do you mean, bro?
You know, bro. You know what's interesting about the Echo thing? Because I had so there's I would say us five, we're a bit more active when it comes to looking for news, interacting with social media, finding accounts, paying attention to things like Disney Plus Day, etc. So two things, she is getting her own show that was just announced 2 weeks ago at Disney Plus Day. So that's interesting once they finally give her a name or drop who she is at the end of assuming the next episode 3, people are going to be like, oh wow, she's getting a show, so that'll make the audience get invested in her, I think, hopefully. But also, like you both have alluded to, her connection to characters is something that's been is present in the comics, like Carlos just said, but it's also been hinted to that we might even see on this show. So I think she's very intriguing. I like the concept of her being someone who is hard of hearing. I'm not sure if she's completely deaf or not. I'm not familiar with the character but I will say the only thing I'm cautious about with this character and the connections and things we know about is I felt like WandaVision did a nice job of standing on its own. I think Loki did a nice job of saving that big character reveal until the last episode. And even though some people were confused, the implications and the buildup of the timelines throughout that whole season, it paid off with this new character. Whereas a big con I had for Falcon and Winter Soldiers, I felt like when all these other characters were popping up, it was starting to be distracting and taking away from the plot. So my only caution with Echo is I really hope she fits this plot with this story, and it's not, oh, we're going to see her once, they're going to tease, blah, 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 and then she's gone. I really want I'm hoping she's along for most of this ride. There's 4 weeks left. I hope she's along for 2 of them, 3 of them.
But here's the thing.
You almost have just one episode because you got to have Yelena is
she's
going to pop up, right? So
yeah,
you got 4 episodes to split those 2. So
that's a good
point.
point.
Yeah, and if you have some reconciliation with Yelena too, like that's at least 2 episodes to do that.
Yeah. So is Echo, because I did not, in full transparency, watch Daredevil, which I know I need to get to it, and I will, because he's always been a favorite. Is she in that series?
No,
not
in that series.
So she's not in any of the Netflix stuff.
No.
It's a brand new first appearance for her.
Yes.
In the MCU.
In the MCU. She's in the comic books. Okay, that's fine. Okay, I didn't know that if this actress was like somewhere before or anything like that.
Yeah.
Well, and that's where this cliffhanger kind of leaves you, right? There's and it there's some exploratory or discovery that maybe people have gone and done since then. I know Chris was the same as me. I wouldn't really know much if it weren't for Twitter or some of the digging I did. But this character, similar to Jonathan Majors at the end of Loki, a lot of people were like, "Wait,
it's a good one.
Did I miss something?" My wife asked me the same question at the end of Loki. Like, wait a minute, did I miss something? Was he in this? And so there's again this expectation that with the MCU, because the Infinity Saga was so good at this, but because we're expanding so rapidly here and moving in different directions, introducing new characters and concepts so very quickly, it's leaving a lot of people asking questions, right? Even when we reviewed Eternals, Ian mentioned that he overheard someone saying, "Where's Thanos?" Right in that. And so there's some expectation. I think it's a little bit of, like I said, the discovery process that people have to go through again, where if you went back to Avengers or even Phase 2, a lot of people are asking very similar questions. So I don't think it's that fault. It's just a period that we're not familiar with because we spent the last 10 years growing with familiarity and characters and concepts. And now they're asking everyone to relearn everything with new characters, and they're trying to bridge it with the old characters. But at times you just have to drop concepts and run with them.
Absolutely.
What's beautiful though is that they have established such a powerful brand and way of doing things and fan base that an episode ends and you see someone and you immediately go, "Who is that?" You know what I mean? It's almost brilliant. Like, I mean,
That's a good point.
studios and companies and writers would pray
To do
that when you
yeah.
see 2 seconds of someone you don't know, everyone's like,
I gotta research
Yeah,
this.
let's go on Twitter. Let's go on Google. Like, who was at
Yep.
the end of the show?
who was that?
Yeah.
Who was that? And
Must
then
be
the
somebody
Fraction
important.
comics
Yeah.
start flying off the shelves, and the Daredevil
Yeah.
comics now start flying off the shelves.
Yep.
It's so incredible. It's so incredible because, like, I think Chris just said in the comments, like, he wouldn't have known for Twitter. I wouldn't have known if there weren't accounts going, you got to stay tuned for Echo. She's going to appear in Hawkeye and she's connected to blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, okay. So when she came on screen, I'm like, okay, I think that's the person they were talking about. But
Yeah.
other than that, wild. It's truly impressive. It's so impressive. It's almost,
It's a brand, like you said.
it's so
Yeah.
impressive. It almost aggravates me how impressive it is. It like pisses me off how impressive it is. Because I'm like, wow, we're getting to C+ characters who people are like fighting on Twitter trying to find out who it is. And like, I'm just thankful I'm getting one Boba Fett show coming 40 years later. That my one character is doing justice, is being done justice. Whatever.
Well, then they integrate it into the general audience, which is the beauty of it, right? And if you're on the other side thinking of some of the other characters, you're disappointed that there's household names that are not creating that traction, right?
Sure.
Mhm.
Which may get there next year. We not going to turn this into them against this or whatever, but that's really the amazing part of what the MCU, how they're able to accomplish this. It's I don't know. I've never seen anything like it. So
Is
I
that,
agree.
that it,
It is very amazing. Absolutely.
It
What's
is.
up, Nico?
Can I bring up a topic real quick?
Sure.
Could we just end this? Is because I'm about to be a stan. And I'm currently in a fight with Adam from Canada about, his multiverse wives. So I'm sorry, Adam, because I know that you're watching here. But
Away.
Damn Canadians.
I was very impressed with Hailee Steinfeld as Kate Bishop.
Yeah.
And I know we talked about her a lot tonight, but I want to talk about her more in the sense of Tim said something really cool earlier is this is the first show and maybe even the first MCU project that really feels like it's for this new character and the namesake of the show Hawkeye is more of a supporting role because that's definitely what it feels like in terms of screen time, in terms of where the plot's going. And she's someone who has kind of toyed. She has an Oscar nomination for True Grit, which is a great film, and she was 14 years old. So she's talented. But the last 10 years, I feel like she hasn't been around consistent enough, and that's no disrespect to her. What I do know about her, she's played around with acting and music as well and really hasn't solidified herself in either one. So to see her lead, to be brought in as arguably the lead of an MCU show to launch this new character that I'm almost positive is going to be one of the leaders of the Young Avengers. And to see her nail it through the first 2 episodes in the presence of a Jeremy Renner, of a Vera Familia, etc., is very impressive to me. And even though Zeddy said, she's kind of known at times for playing that like awkward young person role, she has this charm to her that's really engaging, and she's got this nice witty dialogue that she nails. And I'm really interested, and I'm already thinking about it. It's funny. I said this with Shang-Chi as well. I'm like already thinking about potential other appearances and other interactions with other characters. Like the fact that Yelena's coming on the show makes me even more excited for Florence Pugh and Steinfeld to make some magic together. So Carlos and Tim, thoughts on Kate Bishop? I know, Carlos, you talked about it earlier that your daughter has a connection to her, but what are you thinking about her in terms of her performance, the portrayal?
Hailee Steinfeld, she's solid, man. Like I have a lot of respect for her. She's crazy talented, and like she was phenomenal in True Grit, and I really liked her energy in Bumblebee, and I've even watched a bit of her singing and dancing stuff. She was a big part of a big Michael Jackson tribute that I saw last year, and so that's cool. So she automatically gets props in my books for that. So she has it all. She's a solid actress. She can sing, and to our boy Bradley there, only I'll ever know if Andrew was singing at that point in time, man. Only I'll know, man. But she was a definitely a solid get for them, and she's in that niche space where she kind of has a really wide appeal across a bunch of different demographics type of things. So there's kind of that older teenagers that grew up with her a bit in the musical space, and then the younger ones that are discovering her now, and folks that were introduced to her via Bumblebee. And so she's probably perfect as Kate Bishop, because I think there could be a scenario in which you cast somebody who's maybe just a bit too abrasive in that type of role, and it could potentially leave people cold on the character. But she's got a warmth to her that I think will serve her well here and going forward.
Okay, Tim, how about you?
I love the awkwardness of her, the what she brings to the role. Like I find her quite charming. I think it was a word that you guys used to explain this and describe this, and I think that really falls to her. And that aspect of it is what I like, is that we're not going into a Yelena. That's going to be a great juxtaposition, is seeing the two of them, right? Where you have a trained assassin from birth, basically, versus a girl who was inspired by Hawkeye to pick up a bow and arrow, but fundamentally is kind of an untrained kid at this point, right? And I think she brings a layer of uncertainty to that, and a layer of really vulnerability is what I like, right? Is that she's out there wanting to do the right thing, but doesn't really know how to do it. That's where Renner comes into this to guide her and hold her hand a bit. And I think, to me, she just lights up the screen in all of it, whether it's the interaction with her parents and stepdad, with the tracksuit guys. There's a lot of innocence to it, right? If you had chucked a normal person into this scenario with a bit of training, this is what you do. And like her whole build into, and the relationship back to the 2012 Battle of New York, like as soon as it went there, I was like, I know they're going to show the Battle of New York. And I know they come back to this a lot, but as soon as they're like, here's a little girl, she's wandering around, we know she's probably in New York, I'm like, there's got to be a connection here. Because they're very specific not to say what year it was. Because as soon as they pop up 2012, you know where this is going, right? And so it was a really cool surprise, and that reverse angle. And if you go online, you can see people that have put the Hawkeye scenes versus hers, and splice it together so you can watch them at the same time. I thought that was really cool. And that she's
Tim, that's that kind of riffs on a movie that I've seen once, and you could say that maybe they followed the blueprint of a genius in making this superhero movie.
I paid the same compliments.
And there's no way.
There's a blueprint.
Explain.
There's no way that just
You're gonna love this, right?
If Carlos is going where I think he's going. That's okay. Wait, hold on. Wait, hold on.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Hold on. This is how did you? Okay. Quick side note, Tim. I agree. I love that opening, and I'm a sucker for like emotion.
Yeah,
that got me when she sees him, and then when it cuts to her and she's like, "I need a bow and arrow," and then the title sequence. I'm like, "That's just great editing, whatever." My dad goes when she's standing out there and you see everything blowing up. I was like, he goes to me. It kind of feels like Krypton.
Well, I was thinking more the other blueprint, right?
I meant BVS. I meant BVS. He doesn't understand.
No, I thought you meant when he walks out there. Okay,
no,
but BVS.
I thought it was very Snydery.
Because he's come up with every filming trope of all time, right?
He is the blueprint, man. He is the blueprint.
21 months later.
Well, close down.
Tim, he's so good that before he ever made movies, people have been copying.
Exactly. Right. There's some I think there's some pictures online that have been photoshopped on a significant character in biblical history's face.
He invented cinema back before cinema was invented.
All I know about Hailee is I think I saw her in Pitch Perfect 2.
Yeah,
which I was not a big. I love Pitch Perfect 1. I was not a big fan of 2. But here's the thing. I love her. She's great because she's got this vulnerability about her, but then she's got the egotistical. She's cocky, right? She's trained, and she's like a master of all these different things and awards. She's won the fencing thing with the stepfather. You know,
don't let me win.
You know, there's so many great things here. The relationship with the mother. You know, we buy into the fact that they're rich, right? She's rich, so it isn't like doesn't come from a family of means. So she's got all these things available to her, which kind of gives her like a almost young Bruce Wayne type of dynamic, that she's got resources available to her that other heroes don't, like a Peter Parker, except in the MCU.
Thank you. Thank you. I was like, wait, thank you.
But what I love about her is
We'll talk about that
she's playing it all, and she's doing it all very well, because I do believe she's cocky and I do believe she's arrogant, but then I believe she's very scared and afraid and vulnerable. So she's doing it, and she's selling it all and making me believe all of it, which is great.
So she reminds me of someone, and I don't want to. Granted, we have a great community. If I were to say this on a different show where there was like people who don't know us, they might freak what I'm about to say. But there's a comparison I'm going to make that I just got vibes from, and it's a reason why I like this film so much and this character so much. Is she reminds me a lot of Patty Jenkins's Wonder Woman. Yeah, Diana in the first film. The thing I love about Wonder Woman 2017 so much is that at the time it was so fresh, where Diana just wanted to be a hero. And she was naive in what she thought it meant and what she thought the world was and what she thought the threat was. And had this cockiness to her when she was a child up until when she was older, trying to go to the battlefield. And Steve Trevor was kind of her mentor in a way. She also ended up being a love interest, but also her mentor. So I love that you brought up that she is young and vulnerable and naive, but she also has this kind of edge and this cockiness to her where she thinks she's good. She keeps telling people she's a champion. She's the best archer. She's going to places she shouldn't go. She's trying to hit the bell, right? She goes to save Hawkeye when he's kind of captured and tells him to stay behind. And there's just something about the naive hero journey that I like, because they're doing it because they want to, but also this is a little different than Wonder Woman. She's with her inspiration and he doesn't know that, and she hasn't said that yet. And I think you're going to find out there's something special. And I'm really hoping that this sort of interaction happens, because in my headcanon, which can be a very dangerous thing, as we all know, I've already written the scene and filmed it and executed in a driveway.
So what was the blueprint, though?
Yeah. The blueprint. Yeah, there's got it.
Zack Snyder, I said a driveway. It's cool she saw the Avenger with no powers and wanted to be that. Yeah. And I want that, because there's a great scene when she's trying to explain his brand to him. And he's like, I'm not trying to sell it. I'm not trying to sell anything, but he's like, so what am I trying to sell? And she's like, inspiration, Clint, because he literally inspired her.
That's great.
That's a line where like the actors and the audience know what that means, but the story doesn't, right? Because Renner doesn't know what she means and she hasn't told him yet. But that's a really nice creative moment where I'm like, that's the first scene of the show, ties back to that moment. And so that's almost why I like her character too, because I have this thing for these like naive heroes who just want to do it. And I think it's going to play out really cool.
Yeah, and to your point about the naive hero, the thing that I like, one of my favorite lines in the show so far was from her mom when she looked at her and said, "You're young and you think you're invisible, and you're rich and you've always been rich and you think you're invisible." Like, there's two things, right? And that's that full acknowledgement that you're rich and young and you think you can do anything you want, and you add on talent into that, right? And you see that going through. Yeah, I can be a hero. Yeah, I can do this. Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I can jump through the window. I can save Hawkeye. I can put the suit on and be something. I like that, right? That it's kind of just draws like the full attention to it. Here is who you are and why you're thinking in this way. And Renner might be the person that has to ground her at some point, right? And to get her to the point where she can truly be that inspirational hero that she will transition to at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I can only echo what. Oh, I did it again. I can only.
That's four.
Yeah, I can only. Yeah,
you can only agree.
Can only agree with you guys. You know.
Echo is. I will give you this, Zeddy. Echo is a great word to use as a host. So.
It is.
Tim, I echo that. I echo that sentiment. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know how much more. I mean, you know, I said, you know, she's typically known for these socially awkward teenage roles, and I didn't say that as a bad thing. That's, you know, that's been her stigma. But she's clearly so beloved, and she has a fan base that's clearly loves her. So I'm actually really hoping that I think they're probably going to use her in a way that they might not have used Black Widow, in a sense that I think she's going to be more of a ongoing presence, I think, in the MCU, whereas, you know, they kind of waited, you know, how many years just to give Black Widow her own film, right? Whereas now, Kate Bishop's already technically gotten her own series, and I only think she's gonna go up from here. She's already gonna, go toe to toe with Yelena. Rumors of Kingpin, which is actually kind of my next segue, is that there's rumors of expanding kind of this crime underworld in New York City, right? Which I'm sure makes a certain two gentlemen across the virtual screen from me very, very happy. So I'm just one back over to Carlos. So Kingpin, obviously, there's rumors again, nothing really confirmed, but we think he's coming. To the MCU. So just walk me through Kingpin and Hawkeye, man. What do you think?
When I was a boy, I used to read those comics with the Kingpin. Yeah, no, this is the ideal way to introduce the Kingpin. If you're not going to do it within Echo's own show, sure. I do hope that they really allow him to shine, because Vincent D'Onofrio just crushed it on Daredevil, both
So good.
literally and
So good,
figuratively. Whereas my boy Troy's in the comments there, like
Troy legend.
the acting in a lot of the things that don't involve Renner and Steinfeld is harsh. And so either one of two things will happen. Either he'll elevate this whole thing, or the writing and what he's being asked to do will drag him down. So I hope it's the latter, or I hope it's the former, sorry, in which he elevates it. I don't know that they're going to cram him in. Like we got 4 episodes, and you have to really introduce Echo and have her thing play out, and you have to introduce Yelena and have a resolution to that conflict. Plus you have to deal with your Watch MacGuffin. You have to have Hawkeye retire out. And they've planted the seeds for that already with just his physical disabilities and whatnot. And I think you still got to get Kate Bishop to a point where you'll be able to buy her. There's definitely like this CW vibe with her introduction, in which like anybody who shows up can be a hero, because the plot calls for it. So it's like, I'm the attractive young girl that's gonna latch on to you, and look, I got skills. I took archery lessons, and now I can be a superhero that can help fight the Chitauri. So I don't know. But they got some work to do over 4 episodes, and you got 2 big pieces being Echo and Yelena to get through, based on what they've told us they're doing with this story. So I really doubt if we might see a tease of Wilson Fisk, but as much as I'd love to have D'Onofrio, and as much as he'd elevate this whole thing, I think that Swordmaster, horrible, Better Call Saul, PG-13 stepdad is going to be as close as
Well, you didn't like the literal mustache twirling villain in there?
Oh man, like you can see the focus group watching Better Call Saul being, we want this guy, okay, and bring him in, and we want you to do exactly what you did on Better Call Saul, but just PG-13.
Yeah,
because
he's scary he's scary on Better Call Saul, right?
But comical on this.
Yeah, exactly. And what did I tell you, right?
Yeah,
I said, when I saw him, because I'm waiting for Better Call Saul to come back, but his character on that show to me is a very frightening, imposing,
horrifying.
Like when he's in the room, you're just like, like you would never want to meet anybody like that. And then this is you're exactly right. It's like whatever casting agency or whatever writers, like, we're gonna get him right.
It's like the water,
and we're gonna get the PG-13.
It's a Silver Age villain, man. Like this guy is.
It's just still right. It's like a Maxwell Lord.
I come from wealth.
Yeah.
We have railroad bonds.
Both sides.
I'm gonna marry your rich, attractive mother.
Yeah.
And then the daughter will be my adversary.
Rotten ass to boarding school.
Yeah.
And so will the aging Avenger.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Like the great value Better Call Saul character is just like I was talking about, these anchors dragging things down. Like,
yeah.
And I love him on Better, like you said, Nick. Like you don't know
have
if you want to go
Kingpin-
have a beer with this guy or
Right.
if he's gonna slit your throat, right? Like
Exactly.
that's the vibe he has there. But in this, it's like,
And you knew, I mean, I don't want to spoil if anybody, I mean, Better Call Saul's been out for all 3, but you knew he wasn't going to die, right? I mean, they tried to take him out, right? Carlos, that son of a bitch is still alive. And I'm scared for everybody coming back, because it's not going to be good,
I know, like that show is appointment viewing for me, but I don't want to watch because my anxiety is like through the roof.
Crazy, man. It really is. Yeah. It's funny though. You guys are you got that right on the head with that. But yeah, I mean, look, I agree with you. Like, there's a lot obviously rumored. Unfortunately, again, I did not see a minute of his legendary, what I've been told, performance as Kingpin. I also saw some funny takes on Twitter where they're going to make him bigger. Did anybody like controversy?
Like the Spider-Verse version.
They're gonna ruin him because he's gonna be like 3 or 4 times the size. I don't know where this stuff comes from. I don't know, but I was enjoying watching people argue
Scoopers.
about how bad it's gonna be, right? About how they're gonna ruin him. And I'm just like, wow, really? Like, I mean, I don't know.
I think
He's gonna
they
be the
should. I
size
think they
of the
should put him
Marvel
in the
legend.
volume.
Yeah.
Put him in the volume and make him look exactly like he did on Into the Spider-Verse.
He's not going to be able to fit my widescreen format. Is that what you're
Remember
telling me?
Austin Powers? I think like
Fought Boston. Fought Boston.
God, it's so crazy. But I'm like you guys. I think there is, we look, there's 4 episodes left. That seems like a lot, but it's going to fly by.
It's 2 hours.
And there's a lot to resolve, and there's still important people coming. I would agree with you that, but I obviously he's a key figure that I would love to see be integrated into the universe, because I'm still hoping that we get a Spidey Daredevil team up.
Yeah.
It's in the future, which I don't think we're going to get in that little indie motion picture coming up here on December 17th. But I hope that we get something like that, because that's been, Carlos, I read those in the comics, and those are some of the greatest moments of my childhood reading comics.
Oh man,
those team ups, and even the Daredevil when he transitioned over to Daredevil and became obviously his arch nemesis, that Bronze Age stuff in the late 70s and early 80s, and as that evolved later on into the 90s, the early 90s, those are legendary comic stories, and I think those are worthy of getting on a screen somewhere, whether it's streaming or it's the big screen. So I'm all for that.
Yeah, unfortunately, at this point, I think after No Way Home, the closest you're going to get to Daredevil and Spider-Man teaming up is our podcast with Troy and I. But
Yeah. Look, with Kingpin, just to touch on this before we move on to potentially more Spidey, I agree with you guys. He's gonna be, my guess would be, it's gonna be an after the credit episode 6 type thing. Is episode 6 is after No Way Home, right?
Yeah.
The week after, I believe.
So there might be, given rumors and all that, there might be a bit of a tie, not directly to No Way Home, but at least to laying foundation. I think they'll tease that there's someone bigger in the underworld, but they're gonna gotta infer to something. But the chances of getting him on there before you're getting a confirmation that Charlie Cox is back in that Daredevil role, I think is unlikely. And so I would say episode 6, your teaser or something in there that kind of leaves you hanging and saying, okay, because this is the work that we're talking about that they have to do in these 4 episodes. They have to lay the foundation and set up the hook for Echo, because Echo is one that doesn't have, I guess maybe with the exception of maybe Moon Knight, you can maybe argue a little bit of Miss Marvel. It doesn't have like a familiar word or a way to pull people in. And yeah, you can argue that Eternals and Shang-Chi didn't either. But Disney Plus, again, is a different viewing audience. It's not the big screen that you're getting this huge GA movie theater type experience. And so they have to build a big hook. And Echo is probably the one character, maybe Moon Knight, that doesn't have that mainstream GA sort of knowledge built into it. Because Miss Marvel is in the video game, and she's been pretty prominent throughout with action figures and all that. And so they have to move some pieces here into place to make Echo something that is going to get your first day, your Wednesday viewing, big polls, eyeballs on. So they have to build that into this as well, and then also give a nice story to Kate Bishop and to Hawkeye and to everything else they're teasing. And so I think you're right to sum this up, that the Kingpin tease at, I think, a maximum in this. You might see a big figure. Maybe they haven't figured out really where they're going with the character, but I doubt he's going to be the size of the Marvel Legend that Carlos wants to buy to put into his collection.
You got the
I just don't have the real estate, man. I just don't have the real estate.
Oh,
no.
man. Look at it. Look at
giant
it.
animated one.
Oh, he got it.
Oh, look at
We
it.
got the giant animated one.
It's
Look
almost
at
the
that.
same size as Nico.
I know.
It's true.
It actually weighs a little bit more than
It weighs a little more than
it's about $1.35 right now with the cardboard. So you know.
Oh, my goodness. Wow. All right. I guess, well, before we move on here to a little more of some New York discussion, Nico, if you mind here, I had a funny story here that I want to share with everyone, because I promise you guys will think this is funny. So, obviously, Tim had mentioned that, maybe some post-credit teases here. So, Nico and I, one night, were driving around here in a car. We were talking about what could potentially Hawkeye tease. What could these Disney Plus shows potentially tease here with a certain character? So, Nico and I had mentioned Kingpin through around the conversation here, and I was like, you know who they're going to tease, right? A certain Madam Hydra, in which Nico, oh my God, hysterically was like, "Oh, you're a king? Well, maybe I'm gonna be a queen."
Yeah,
Oh my goodness, golden, because that's exactly how it's gonna play out. I'm telling you right now,
I
how
don't
it's gonna
want
play
to
out.
see that. I don't want to see that.
No.
Sure you do.
I don't
God.
want to see Julia
Sure you do.
just anywhere near a screen again. No disrespect to the legend, not in this
She's
role.
coming. She's coming in the
Oh,
show.
I know I'm
There's
listening.
not a doubt in my
The
mind she will
second
appear in the show.
post-credit
She's
scene.
coming strong and hard. Let me tell you, she's coming, dude.
Why did you have to drop that? I needed Troy to watch the rest of the series for our show.
Oh,
But now that he's heard that, there's no way that he's going to watch
No way he's gonna
anymore.
finish
If you
it.
tell him that Madam Hydra is coming, my boy is out. He was
No, he-
already on the borderline.
He's committed. He's committed. He'll watch it, grinding his teeth for the pod. He will. He will.
Man, but it's dangerous. If that guy punches the air, like the guy next door, his wall will blow out.
I
This
feel that
dude's
here.
worth-
I feel it.
Oh, so you're pretty good at this bow and arrow thing, are you?
No,
Huh?
see,
Huh?
I already see it, and I just
Oh,
want to
yeah.
unsee it.
It's going to be a big part too, I believe. Absolutely, man. She's.
She's
All right,
your,
well,
she's your
let's
Nick
see here,
Fury
though.
in
Yeah.
some, like in
I would agree.
in the Disney Plus stuff. She's going to be a connective piece that
Over
pulls together.
Multiple,
Oh yeah, and she's going to be
multiple
pulling
teams.
because she's connected to Yelena already, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And there's going to be this piece of gathering up individuals, whether it's for Thunderbolts or whatever she's doing.
Right.
This is going to be your Disney Plus thread. Like, she didn't show up in Loki because there's no place for her there, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
But like anything that was remotely grounded that we've seen this year, she's in.
I would agree. Yeah. I would agree.
Oh, because I love my guy. I love all you guys on my virtual screen here. Let's move over here a little bit. let's not scar all of our listeners here potentially. So
I know you brought the whole conversation down with bringing Julia in this.
I know,
It's
but
fine,
now I'm going to
she'll-
bring it up because somebody said the word multiple. You know what has multiple things. Potentially here is a certain movie. The tickets are going on sale here November 29th. It's a few days upon us. A little thwip. Notice how I said that 3 times. Coincidental? I don't know. But Spider-Man No Way Home is coming here. We're just rapidly 3-4 months. I don't know, something like that. So I'm gonna just one over to Tim because we actually never discussed No Way Home yet on here. So the lead up here, like I just said, man, we're 3-4 weeks out here. The biggest movie I'd say probably since Endgame
Oh yeah.
is rapidly upon us. How you guys feeling, gentlemen?
I'm cautiously optimistic, to be honest with you, because it's shaping up to be way more of a Peter Parker, like specifically Tom Holland's Peter Parker story, than I was expecting. Honestly, like cards on the table, I think the MCU is kind of losing its way a little bit with the character narratives, and I'm digging that this one's going to be focused on your Spider-Man, and then very smartly, instead of parachuting in the former villains to kind of be the big spectacle. They seem like they're being deployed as just something familiar that you know, so that they don't have to spend time with them as much as building up Holland's journey to facing them off. So obviously Spider-Man is like, he's neck and neck with Soups for my number 2 love in all things comic books. So I want this to be cool, and it's the small things for me, man. Like, it's just like the big spectacle-y stuff, no, but it's like some of the lines that Peter Parker drops in that trailer, and just that one scene of him, like he swings and he's in between the power poles in front of like a setting or rising sun. That's where you get me. Like, I don't give a crap about like Doctor Strange making 75 crap trains and blah 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 blah. Like, go away, Mephisto. But like it's like the Peter character journey. Yes, behind me, Mephisto, because that's who it is. We called it on our show
Evil Strange.
almost
Years
a year
ago.
For China purposes, it's Evil Strange. But
Yeah.
yeah, there we can see it.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
And who said that? Who said
Hmm?
that? Who said that? Zeddy, me. Anyway, keep going.
we clout flexing right now.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. Our archives go back pretty far. And to be honest, like, I think I dropped that initially just to troll Troy, and then it
And then it
became
happened.
reality.
He was
Question mark?
definitely in WandaVision though, wasn't he? I think we talked about it on one of these
I'm
live
a
streams.
Scooby Doo
So
this
is Reed
crap,
Richards,
gentlemen. Let's
right?
go.
And so is Reed Richards.
But yeah, like, to get back to your question, like, that's probably the piece of it that I'm the most excited about, is that it feels like some way and somewhere during the process they decided to really focus on Holland's Spider-Man, and I really like Holland, and I think there's potential there, and I do have a significant soft spot for Michelle. It might just be because I have a skinny brown daughter who loves Spider-Man like it's nobody's business, and stole my Tom Holland hot toy and has him
Good for her.
displayed with the Tom Holland head for years in her bedroom. But that's neither here nor there. But I think they're going to really pay off a lot of stuff with their relationship. And I'm going to call it here on the live stream. No Way Home, Tom Holland Spider-Man gets sucked into whatever Sony world that is there, and he's down in the mouth and he's sad, and we think things are pretty bleak. And then Zendaya's MJ shows up, but she's looking all fine, and she says, "Face it, Tiger, you've hit the jackpot." And that's our post-credit scene, or our cliffhanger ending, and off we go. Hope and optimism, to use Jeff Johns' terms, and we move on to the Sony Spider-Verse, so that Eddie Brock can get that white spider.
Yeah. It's all
There
about
it
the
is.
white spider.
Trigger word number 5.
I got it tattooed on my arm, man. It's gotta happen.
You know, it's I fully agree. Like, there's something bigger at play here when it comes to the Sonyverse, and I think Holland going over there, and we're gonna see him pulled out. And this seems like the movie that's gonna transition out of the MCU for now, and then transition Spider-Man into something different. Sony seems to be happy that they've laid enough foundation that they can build their own universe and do the Spider-Verse live action thing, do the mentoring Tobey Maguire, or just run with Holland in his own set of films that are conceivably separate from the MCU. And so they don't have to worry about where's, Captain America, where's Wanda, where's all these figures, right? They can go and do their own thing and separate it out here. I also am in a spot where after this last trailer, I feel way more comfortable about the story. That was the thing that scared me the most about this, was that they were trying to shove so much into this and tell such a grand story with almost no buildup. And that's what felt so divergent from what they've done in every other MCU film and story and bigger narrative that they've worked on. They've had time. There's been no allusion to this bigger multiverse thing. Yes, they built it, but in Spider-Man's universe specifically. And this seems where it's going to have a major implication. Instead of building this over time, literal time, that they're just going to explode this into a single movie and try to explain so much in so little time. I've got the reassurance now that the majority of the movie is going to be, like Carlos said, a Holland Peter Parker story, a Spider-Man story, and getting and I have to say this, getting Troy and Carlos, both are definitive Spider-Man of this era, onto screen before doing something different with him, and then opening this up. The stuff that we see at the end of that trailer with the big battle, the Sandman, the Lizard, and all that, my guess is that's the last 15 minutes or so. That we're going to spend 2 solid hours with this character, developing him in a way that he hasn't gotten because of some of the hangups with the connectivity to the MCU and Iron Man and all that, which I really like. I'm down for all that, but I don't have more of those fundamental connections to some of the things that Spider-Man needs to reflect his true essence from the comic books. And I've bought way more into him being part of the bigger MCU story instead of him being on his own. And that's really what he's been. He's been a cog in the larger MCU at this point. He's never had his chance to be a character. He was introduced in Civil War. And so fundamentally, a lot of us see him as a piece of the grander narrative instead of him being on his own and integrated into the bigger story from an independent character and beyond. So that's what I'm digging here, is that we're getting more of Holland, we're getting more of Parker, Spider-Man, before we get into what is inevitably going to be a crazy climax. It's going to be a lot to take in. There's going to be a lot of characters, whether or not Garfield and Maguire are in here. I think they are. I'm more convinced than ever that they're going to be, and I'm down with it. Like I think you guys said this on your latest show. It's going to be a huge mistake. Mistakes maybe not the wrong word, but like, they can't introduce all of these villains and not have some payoff with multiple Spider-Man. It doesn't seem like it fits. Like there would be something really off there, and maybe they're saving that. Like I'm kind of the opinion, we're gonna get some fighting, but the true interaction that everyone wants is gonna happen in the Sonyverse. There's no point in Sony from a business perspective allowing the MCU and Marvel Studios to have those moments in this film. Right, you want to have those moments in the Spider-Verse movie they're going to announce, or the Spider-Men movie that they're going to announce. You want to save some of that powder for their own event film, and so the expectation here is a little bit of interaction, this and that. Parker over, goodbye from the MCU for now. But there's a lot there. But ultimately, I'm stoked for this one, and the anticipation level coming into this is the highest. I've seen this across the board. Everyone's comparing this to Endgame. I don't think it's going to be Endgame. Maybe in the Spider-Man universe, it's never going to live up to that hype of the 23 whatever movie build-up it was. But there's a lot here. There's a lot of legacy. I watched Spider-Man 1 today in anticipation of building into the next 3-4 weeks of building up to No Way Home. And it's got me excited. All of this has got me excited. It's all going in the right direction. And I honestly can't wait for this one.
Hell yeah. Caruso's update here. What do you think?
I haven't been as excited for a movie like this in quite a long time, a theatrical release, because like Endgame was spectacular and it was an event, and it's one of those 2 or 3 times that I was at a movie theater and felt like it was just one of those out-of-body experiences. But I kind of knew what was going to happen in Endgame, right? We all knew everybody was coming back. We all knew that the rumors were there. Certain people were maybe going to move on or whatnot. This, to me, Carlos, you said it beautifully, because I go into this movie not a Tom Holland fan, not of the way they've portrayed him in the MC universe, and not even a fan per se of his take on Spidey, other than his initial introduction in Civil War, which I thought he was excellent. I come away watching this trailer more interested in him now than a lot of the stuff that was more on my mind, because that opening scene when he's in the rain and when he talks about it, the only week he had is only had 1 good week since he got bit by the spider. They're going to use nostalgia, and they're going to use these other Spider-Men to, I think, help him complete his journey and help him understand, fully grasp who he is, what he is. With the great power comes responsibility. And I think that's the purpose of having these guys in there, more than just fan service, which in the beginning I thought it was, like you, Tim, just a lot of crap in there, right? Like to beat maybe DC to the multiverse, right? Maybe Kevin Feige's like, oh, they're going to do this Flashpoint movie. Well, we're going to beat them again. You know, we're going to do this. We're going to have all these people. So I am super excited for this story, because I truly believe when it's over, I will accept and be like willing and eager to see Tom continue.
Yeah.
Now, Tom said some crazy things that, you know, he's maybe tired of it and he doesn't know how much longer he wants to play him. And I know they're going to introduce Miles at some point. But for me personally, selfishly, as a Spider-Man fan, you know, I'm already looking to him with a few more movies, obviously with Venom. They're doing Craven. Michael Keaton's filming some Vulture stuff, he said the other day. Well, where's that at? Is that going to be in Morbius? Is that going to be in this movie? So, like, we talk about it on our podcast. Like,
the Vulture's fun.
The Spider Universe going forward, my head is spinning at how great and how wonderful it could be.
Yeah.
And it could really dominate because I love Batman #1, and Spidey's like right there, just underneath him. You know, he's like the 1A. And I don't think there's no argument that he's the bigger box office.
No way.
He's so huge, right? And he plays, and so does Batman, but Spidey's maybe got that little bit of an edge on him. And I just think it's just all they're going to be out in front of us. And I think they're going to tell a story and present a movie that's going to be like beyond even what I was thinking. And don't kid yourselves. I think Garfield and Maguire are going to have pivotal moments in this movie. Whether it's what they do heroically, I think it's going to be more so what they symbolize to him. And I'm more interested when they have the masks off, right?
Yeah.
And they're talking, the three of them, which we think we're going to see, right? Those are the moments
Speculatively
that will have me as excited as I've ever been to see a superhero movie. That's what I'm in this for. Tim, when they're fighting and they're punching the villains and they're on the Statue of Liberty, that's all cool. But when those three guys are together and they're talking about the weight, the burden of what it is to be Spider-Man, what it means. I mean, how much more? Like, I can't tell you. I'm so stoked for this movie, man. I think more than Endgame, because I think in Endgame, I kind of knew what we were going to get. Right, we were getting an ending. I think this is a beginning. I think it's nostalgia, and we're going to get an ending for a couple characters that I think a lot of fan bases and millions of people want to see, because I think Maguire was supposed to do the fourth. It never happened, right? It kind of got thrown to the wayside. They rebooted with Garfield. Garfield didn't really get his third movie, right? So I think it's a little justice and a little redemption for those two guys, because those two guys, listen, whether you have a favorite or not, I think they were both excellent in the roles as Spider-Man. I think they were just, when I watch the Amazing movies now, I'm so moved with Garfield. When I saw them in the theaters, I didn't accept them right away because it was too close to the other ones. I was pissed that Toby was gone. These two gentlemen portrayed that character so beautifully. And to see them come back and have whatever it is, 15 minutes, a half hour, again, it's a Spider-Man's fan dream. And, kudos to the director. He's calling it Spider-Man Endgame, but it's going to launch where Endgame was kind of the ending. It's going to launch, I think, Tom Holland into like maybe the greatest portrayal. I swear to God, I'm saying this now. We've had some great heroes, right? We've argued Keaton and Bale and this guy and that guy. It might propel this young man to being the and Downey. I mean, nobody can top Downey in my book. But this kid might have the longest run here because he's young enough. He can play this character for another 10, 12, 15 years. Even if he hands off to Miles and you bring Miles in and they work together, and Miles has his own movies and Peter has his own movies. So I'm rambling because I haven't been this excited in a while.
This is awesome.
Snyder, listen, but that was a different thing. We're all in our homes, and we were waiting for that thing. It took forever, and I love that thing. This is like to be able to go with Zeddy and Nick and a few of our friends, and I wish we all could go see it together. That day, that night, like I'm going to have a sleepless night that night before.
Oh, God.
It's going to be a lot of fun. It's
I
gonna
love
be
that.
like, it's like we're going to see something here that potentially is going to be like a game changer, in my opinion, in this genre, and especially for this character who I love.
Yeah,
So,
it's
Well said.
It's
Well
gonna be
said.
awesome. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
And you talk about Holland and how long he just got left in him. I would almost guess that you've probably got a trilogy, including No Way Home, of him doing this big crossover stuff.
Yeah.
Like this can't. I love that you say that this is like the beginning of something.
Mm.
It may be the end of the MCU version in some capacity, but the
Yeah.
beginning of a different character, and this baton passing that we've alluded to with Black Widow and Hawkeye and all this to bring this round. It's going to have to happen at some point, right? And Miles, I've said this before, he's the lowest hanging fruit in all of comic book movie space that has
Unbelievable.
not been touched.
Nothing.
And whether there's an agreement somewhere that there can only be one Spider-Man existing at one, like they touched on him a little bit in Homecoming, kind of by having his uncle in there.
Yeah, it's Uncle Aaron Davis.
Yeah, but why that character has not even been teased in any capacity, like in any real meaningful way for that particular character, blows my mind. Like, it is why Sony hasn't kicked it off. Why, like, and I don't think Sony has the patience to do this. Carlos has something he wants to say here.
Well, no, I gotta agree with my boy BJ in the comments there. It's like Miles works best if you take Peter off the board, and I don't think we're ready to take
that's fair.
Tom Holland's Peter Parker off the board yet, because the biggest reason that Miles thrived was in the Ultimate Universe. They killed off that Peter Parker, and this kid had to step up because he came to the understanding that great power comes great responsibility on his own. And he steps up and he takes care of business. Like, they've done a cool version of it in the video games, but even there they've kind of played with Peter being fallible and not being able to do it all. And I wouldn't be surprised if the next game sees Peter moving out of the limelight, because, like, quite frankly, just as a guy playing the games, like, I enjoy playing Miles more than I do Peter at this point in time. But yeah, like, I give Sony credit where it's like, we don't have to do Miles in live action because we can take our time. We can run this Tom Holland Spider-Man because it is ours. It's not Marvel Studios. So run it and use it to prop up your Venom and prop up your Morbius and build out your Craven and do everything else. And then, you can or you can't develop Miles in the background, and maybe in that last movie where he dies, you bring Miles in, because like that's how Bendis did it. It was like you're reading, like, halfway through a storyline, there's some kid showing up after Peter's dead in a Spider-Man costume from a thrift. Like, it's kind of mirrors what they did in Spider-Verse kind of thing. But that's the best way to do it. Like, I don't know that you get the best out of Miles Morales if you just layer him on top of Peter Parker. And it's just like, we got two. Wow.
I think
you got the second animated movie coming out, right? So
yeah.
I mean, I think they're gonna thrive on that, right? And maybe have a third one. And then, Tim, real quick before you talk, they're gonna pluck the Spider-Man then back into the MCU for Secret Wars and for other projects. So I think he's gonna live. He's gonna be able to come back when they need him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it'd be like
agree.
Supergirl, right?
Yeah,
where the multiverse just whenever the plot needed him,
right?
Boom, there
just
he is.
Back and forth.
But go ahead,
No, I like what you're saying there, Carlos, and I agree that, like, in the absence of a Peter Parker, that character works better. My whole thing is, I think that there's some contractual thing, because I don't think Sony has that type of patience to tell that long-term story. Do you think that Sony is sitting on one of potentially the biggest characters, and they're like, I get, if this was Marvel Studios, I could buy into that. I'm not buying that.
Okay, look, I've had a lot to drink tonight, so I don't know that I want to get Avi on the horn.
No, we're gonna. That's not what.
Get her on the phone.
We'll call Avi later. Anyways, I'm not completely convinced in the Sony's ability to wait 23 films to say Avengers Assemble.
No, I see where you're coming from, especially with you look at how they massacred Amazing Spider-Man 2. You could see
Soda Rush.
They sacrificed it in the interest of building a Sinister Six, right? So, who knows? I always think that the most dangerous person is the person who failed, which is why, like, if Warner Brothers gives Zack Snyder another shot, I'm actually there for it. If Sony brings Mark Webb back, I'm excited about that because I think
Sam Raimi.
yeah, like and even with him, like it wasn't even totally his fault why Spider-Man 3 didn't work completely, but I think the best person, like I'm really excited for Wonder Woman 3 because Patty Jenkins has egg on her face from Wonder Woman 84.
Yeah, no,
So she's gonna bring it.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
kudos to
Great point,
WB for
man.
standing by her.
Yep.
Because that's the most dangerous person in the room, because that's the person who has learned from the school of hard knocks
Mhm.
what works and what doesn't work and what you need to do to elevate yourself, right? Like I'm way more excited about her coming back to do that movie than them bringing in Michelle McLaren, because she's the other Oscar-winning female director.
yeah.
But she hasn't been in this space and she hasn't learned anything. And so who knows what we're going to get, right?
Yep.
Like out of the 5 of us on the screen, I think I ironically hated Wonder Woman 84 the most, but I'm really excited about having Patty come back because she failed. And I think you learn and you become stronger and she's got to take her shot. Like look at Zach after BVS, man. Like I do not like that movie, but Zack Snyder's Justice League is one of the greatest things that have ever crossed my eyeballs. Like, because that guy took that hit, right? And came back and crushed it. So, I don't know. I think
just
Sony
got
learned
excited.
a tough lesson, man.
It's just one of the greatest things across the eyeballs because it's true.
Are you ready?
It's true.
You look
Ready
at
the
Amy
Armada?
Pascal.
Ready
and
the Armada.
Ready the Armada, my
Ready the
friend.
Armada. Whoa, ready the
Ready the Hamada.
Because
Not
I
Armada.
want
Ready the Armada.
Ready the Armada.
You don't even know what's going on anyway. Who cares? Anyway,
It's
Nico,
really
kick
cool
yourself.
stuff.
You know, I just think, like I said, it's been it's just funny how, you know, we got this Spider-Man movie. It's so great to be talking about Spider-Man. And I think, you know, just like you guys said, just to tie this trailer thing up, where I think we were all kind of worried about this project, right?
Yeah.
Like it sounded like it's just too much, man. There's too many ingredients, right, in the recipe. And watching the way that we all, I think, agree, like the Batman trailers are like some of the best trailers we've ever seen.
Like amazing.
Right? Just absolutely freaking amazing. I'm not going to say this was that level, but it was pretty close. And it really, I think, brought a comfort level and yet a complete euphoria to all fans of Spider-Man. You're talking about bringing all generations, right? Because I know people that love the Toby stuff and they're interested. Garfield is just, I don't think any of us could deny the guy's an incredible actor, right? And he's just continues to be like, make these movies and show him as an actor. So like, it's just great, man. Like that we're going to get all this rolled into one, and there might actually be like a really important, beautiful story here.
Well, that's why I said on the last podcast we did for Vigilante, I literally think this is going to be the ultimate Spider-Man live action experience. I think it's going to successfully do what the Star Wars sequel trilogy did not do. And I think what I mean by that is everyone was waiting, I think even from The Force Awakens when it was first announced, was that one scene, that one moment with Luke, Leia, and Han all together, and we never got it. And
yeah, but they make up for it with lens flares.
It
So
was fair. But
all I gotta say is that Jason Reitman is the blueprint.
that's
Oh,
right.
Put it
But-
there. Put it there.
But like for someone like me, who kind of like my dad said earlier, and just say it more confidently, like this is to me a bigger deal than Endgame and Star Wars: The Force Awakens for me, because Spider-Man is my favorite thing ever, and I have literally Tobey Maguire's statue 10 feet from me, and just to get a movie where I'm going to get these two guys back, I'm going to get the two GOAT villains back in Defoe and Molina, but also, you guys know, as you watch the show, you guys know me, I'm not big on MCU Spider-Man, but this trailer had me more in for Holland than I've been in 6 years. Because that first line, that first shot, you know, ever since I was bit by the spider, I had one good week. And then just the scene with him and Aunt May when he says, I can't save everyone. I mean, that is Peter Parker. And we're not getting I hope we're not getting the private jet stuff in here. We're not getting the I want to be an Avenger here. We're not getting I want to go to Europe here. We're not getting the I look up to the a hero that after Endgame, the world accepted a multiverse hero saving the world with magic, whatever. We're getting Peter Parker himself. And I think this is the movie where I'm going to finally buy in and say I love all 3 Spider-Man. Because I say I love 2. This is the movie that I'm going to say I love 3, and it's going to give me, as a Spider-Man fan, every single thing I want in a Spider-Man film.
One last thing, too, what really makes me feel good about the trailers and the TV spots is Alfred Molina.
Yeah, he's great.
Like, I see him, and when we did our Twitter space, somebody brilliantly brought this up. I mean, I think he's going to be an ally.
Yeah.
And that, to me, this guy is like, he's another great actor, but I mean, one of the great comic villains, superhero villains, cinema villains of all time. And to see him come back in and buy in and maybe turn in his best performance, maybe, is what is also got me. I'm excited to see Defoe, but Defoe's in there and he's evil, you know, he's and all them. But Molina about how you know, just that Peter, you're chasing ghosts. I mean, that's the other thing that like they beautifully weave into this trailer is the use of Alfred Molina more than just coming up with the arms and the tentacles and being a threat. Is the other thing that makes me feel really good too about this.
In that shot where people see the one Spider-Man versus Electro, Sandman, and the Lizard, where the Lizard gets punched by air. A lot of people are like, "Oh, that's the 3v3 scene," and I've even said that. But as more time has passed and some of these TV spots have come out, I think it's a CGI'd out 4v4 scene. I think the Goblin's on the bad side and Doc Ock is on the good side. And I think you're going to have some great moments with Toby and Ock remembering, you know, what they did together to quote unquote save the world. Because
turn on the blue light,
right? Turn on. So I really think, because there is a spot in the trailer or in a TV spot or the Brazil trailer where Electro goes, "You won't take this away from me," and he's zapping Doc Ock off a building. Like it looks like that. So I think Doc Ock is like you guys said on your show. I think Doc Ock is going to be more of an ally, which I think works perfectly for Alfred Molina's character.
Yeah,
where he leaves off in Spider-Man 2.
He's an ally.
I'm going to call a couple more shots here. So, number 1, Mephisto Strange is trying to corrupt Peter, and he wants him to kill the villains in order to accomplish that end. And number 2, there's that scene where you see Doc Ock looking at the arm and the arm is turning red. And I think that's going to be their riff on Superior Spider-Man or Superior Octopus. And that's your hook into him being an anti-hero and an ally for
good. See, the thing you brought up that I like, and you said that you call this, I just thought of this on the last Vigilante episode, is because we keep talking about how we think we all 5 since the minute that first trailer come out. We're like, that's not Doctor Strange. It's so out of character. The second trailer, same thing. So, but we were talking about how after WandaVision came out, you know, Kevin Feige and Jacques Schaefer, who wrote the show, said, you know, they can't use that character because of China, because of things like that, because that demonic figure. And then on the last episode, so you called this long time ago, Carlos, but I think what the MCU has done is they've taken certain characters and they've used them how they need to. The perfect recent example is what they do with Taskmaster and Black Widow. It's not really like the character at all, but it fits the story and there's enough of the skill set there. I think what the MCU Mephisto is going to be is, like you said, just a bad Doctor Strange. It's just a variant of Doctor Strange that is evil.
We've seen one of those already.
Right. And I think he came here and he captured Doctor Strange. And I actually think the real Doctor Strange is in at the end when he's like, "Oh, it's coming through. I can't stop it." I think that's the one they find, which sets up the multiverse madness. So I like that we're on the same page here, because it feels like this Doctor Strange in a way is baiting Peter, because like you both said on the last show, and Troy, shout out to Troy who's watching, is unless they explained it, and I know there's rumors, but technically Electro, Sandman, and Lizard did not die. So he's lying to Peter. You know what I mean? So there's a tweet rumor that they did die eventually afterwards, but I think that would be cheap exposition. I think it's more of the former, where they're baiting Peter, because those 3 villains Electro is up in the air, but Lizard and Sandman did not die, and Sandman and him end on great terms. So, very interested.
Wild times. Wild
Yeah.
times.
Well, I think the freezing in Doctor Strange's home
Yeah.
it's kind of like that hell freezing over type
Yeah.
of thing, right?
Yeah.
And also, what a shame that we're bending the story and the art to conform to the demands of a Chinese artist or audience.
That's true. Yeah.
That's Sanjay and I have a very compelling thread that I think I'm going to turn into a book one day about this whole dynamic and its influence on film.
Yeah.
But I wish they would have just done what was in the best interest of the story and build in their universe and do the right thing.
Right, because even as Troy said in the last show, I mean, I wasn't a fan of the Nick Spencer run at all, but I do like in his last issue 74, Mephisto's talking to Doctor Strange and he tells him he sees a vision when he reigns. He sees a million vision when he reigns, and the same person stops him every time, and it's Spider-Man. And it was a beautiful way to end the story. It almost brought me to tears when I was reading it. This guy's gonna cry right now.
That's a great part.
So
I know.
like, man, I would love if he just. I'm a nerd. I would love if that Doc Strange he just starts to CGI into the red figure in the throne. I would be like, yo, this is legendary, and have like Toby and Garfield be like, we have none of this on our Earth. It's there's none of this. I'm also excited for that. Not to ramble on, and Zeddy, I'm gonna let him wrap it up after this. But Garfield and Toby also don't have these other. It's just them on their Earth. We let them leave. So I'm also excited for them to be like, wait, you have all this other stuff in your reality, and in ours it's like we're the only heroes that we're given.
Yeah, I mean, obviously sentimentally, for me, I genuinely, this movie is definitely going to be the movie that us fans dream of, right? And it's probably going to be the movie that podcasts were probably made for. I would say, whether or not the movie is good or not. I mean, we're definitely going to have a lot to talk about too. And I know for me, it's probably going to feel like being a kid in 2002 again. For me, like I don't think I saw Spider-Man 1 in theaters, but 2 and 3 I saw, and obviously 3 I was a little bit older, so I remember that one more distinctly. But the Andrew Garfield movies, I was in high school, so I kind of dipped out a little bit of the superhero realm a little bit. So I've actually never seen any of the Garfield movies in theater. So this movie is actually going to be a way for me to kind of, I guess, reconnect with one of them and connect with one of them in more of a big screen landscape. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. And obviously, this is probably the biggest thing maybe us V39 people have maybe seen in a theater together. I mean, we've seen a lot of movies since then, but I don't think anything has really been this big in scale. I don't think so. From that point, we
didn't see Endgame together.
No,
we didn't.
We didn't see Endgame together bring it on. I mean, we've all I'm sure this is going to be an event for all of us. Just going to the theater. So hopefully the movie delivers for all of us. And I'm excited to just talk with all you guys and talk with everybody else. So hopefully let's do that. And, everybody, hopefully buy your tickets, set your alarm, do what you got to do, get your tickets. It's probably going to be crazy.
Yeah. It's Sunday night, technically.
Sunday night, technically.
The right way, because it's said on the AMC website, it says 12:01 Eastern time, the 29th, which means for
Spider Monday,
it's going to be Monday. Sunday night or Electro Monday, but it's going to be Sunday night for us at least.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So there you go.
We're in.
Some might say we're in the end game now, but I don't know. I think we're in the Spider-Verse now, but that's more appropriate. So there you go. But I actually think it's probably a great way to put a pin in this one. So obviously, thank you to everybody that was joining us for the live feed. And if you find this show in the after show as well, like, share, subscribe, comment, do all that great stuff. Even if it's on the Nerd One, please support this channel as well. And obviously, this channel will be on our V39 YouTube channel. Once we get that ready and go, we'll repost this. We'll do everything that we got to do. But as always, closing plug. So Tim and Carlos, you guys are obviously the wheelhouse of this channel. So I'm going to kick this one off to you guys first. Plug everything that you guys got going on, please.
Well, I'm not real anything, man. So Timbo, over to you.
No,
I just keep it real.
Come on.
I love that.
He keeps me honest. If I'm gonna be honest with you here.
I just keep it real.
No, all I have to say is thanks, guys. Appreciate you guys having us here and hosting this one. It's been a ton of fun, and I can't wait to do this to wrap up Hawkeye and kick off Boba Fett at the end of December. It's going to be a ton of fun. That one will be over on the Vigilante 1939 YouTube channel, so that's going to be a ton of fun.
Boy.
I will ask one thing. If you guys are here right now, just give us a sub. We've been having lots of fun putting up YouTube content. Our boy Ian, who was in the chat earlier, has been absolutely killing it with the videos. He's got a cool one, a little hunt at Toy Sapien. There's some room tours up there. He's got some Mafex figure breakdown of Spider-Man that we just talked about, the Ben Reilly version. So go check some of that content out. We're having some fun building that, and you can head over to our normal feed, the Nerd Room Podcast, and check out all the Ghostbusters covers we've done, Eternals, and Spider-Man No Way Home. It's all there. So go check that out. And just to kind of everything is over at thenerdroom.net if you want to check kind of everything out. One-stop shop for all things the Nerd Room.
Awesome. All right, Caruso's, what you got for me?
Just follow me at N Caruso Jr.
That's
on
right,
Twitter.
Follow me at Nico Caruso on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, TikTok for film reviews, for all good stuff. Zeddy, how about you?
Me? Oh, okay. Yeah, that's me, right? Oh, you guys can follow me on Twitter at Nick Zendig. It's just my name, NickZednik. Please follow this, technically our podcast, on Twitter at Vigilante1939, and you can find us wherever else in your feeds as well. So stay tuned for all of our respective shows. We're dropping new episodes. I know the Nerd Room dropped, obviously, a new Ghostbusters Afterlife review, so go put that on in your feed. You had too much turkey, probably can't get off the couch. Plug that episode in, and then we'll have you after Cyber Monday. So stay tuned for all that great stuff. So, but for Tim, for Carlos, for Nico Caruso, for his father Nick Caruso Jr., my name's Nick Zendik, and as Michael Keaton's Batman always says, I want you to tell all your friends about me.
We live in a society